Hello, my name is April. Welcome to my video. In this video, we're going to talk about the axial bones. And with me right here is my model. I call him Bob because as you can see, he's a body of bone. So he's going to model for me today and we're going to talk about the axial bones. So, the axial bones are the skull, the ribs, and the spine. So I'm just going to focus on Bob so that it can be seen right there. There are 22 bones making up the skull on the atlas of the vertebral column and surrounding the cranial cavity. The cranial bones. The cranial bones has the frontal, the parietal, and the occipital. And the occipital area has the external occipital protuberance. At the midline of the occipital is the external occipital protuberance. This is an attachment point for muscles which stabilizes the skull over the vertebral column. Ligaments also attached here. We can see it right around this area here. There are nerves passing through the superior orbital fissure. And now we talk about with the inside the cranial cavity, there is a sella turcica. It is an important site because it is where the pituitary gland is. The ethmoid, the quistorgallian site, which helps the brain in the cranial cavity. Now we talk about the sutures. The sagittal sutures are the sutures going from the front in the middle of the forehead, going across all the way down. The coronal sutures are the one, it's called coronal because it's kind of like going like a crown. It's from side to side, from left to right. And the lomboidal sutures are the one we see down here. And the facial bones. The maxilla is formed from two maxillae, and it is the upper jaw bone right here. It articulates with every facial bone except the mandible. With the palatine bones, the maxillae form the hard palate. The nasal bone are seen briefly in the superior view right up here. The vomer bone can be seen in the inferior view of the zygomatic bone. The zygomatic bone is seen in the region of the cheek. In the inferior view is the palatine bone, which is observed at the roof of the mouth. So when you open, it's right inside the roof of your mouth. And so now we could talk about the spine. So I'm going to turn my model around. The spine, it has 26 bones. It is distributed in 5 divisions, namely the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacral, and the coccygeal region. It has 4 curvatures, namely the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, and the sacral curvature. The cervical bone has 7 vertebrae. The first one is the atlas. The second one is the axis. The atlas articulates with the occipital bone and at the second cervical vertebrae. And the axis is right next to the atlas. What axis does is that it allows you to turn from left to right. So the next time you drive and you go look from left to right, you remember that you're using your second neck vertebrae, which is the axis. So the thoracic. The thoracic has 12 discs. It starts from after the 7th cervical vertebrae starts the thoracic. So the 2nd through 8th thoracic vertebrae have points of articulation with the ribs. the lumbar. The lumbar has 5 lumbar discs, and it is the largest disc in the vertebrae. Following it is the sacral. There are 5 sacral bones. It fuses at the age of 16 to 18, and it completes at the age of 25. So now I'm going to turn him around because we're going to talk about the ribs. The ribs, there are 12 pairs of ribs, as we know. True ribs are first to the 7th attached to the sternum right here. So the 1st and the 7th, they are attached to the sternum. These are called the true ribs. The false ribs are the lower 5 ribs. They do not directly connect to the sternum and are known as false ribs. The ribs articulates with the vertebra at 2 points. The costal facet on the vertebral body and the transverse costal facet on the transverse process. So I hope I covered everything as far as the axial bones. Once again, this is April and my friend Bob saying bye. Thanks for watching.